This conference is quite unique. It's bringing together speakers from all over Australia. And we're talking on topics, all things consciousness and beyond. So I think it's a unique opportunity for people to come together and learn from some amazing people all over Australia.
Josie, your theme today is the neuroscience of sovereignty, unlocking the power of your mind. So let's talk about the power of your mind. And how do you feel that the power of the mind is not being looked after at the moment?
I've got a mic.
Oh, you're on mic. Sorry about that. Being on radio and TV, I'm so used to putting a microphone in somebody's face. I did it without thinking then. Sorry about that.
I think people have forgotten how powerful they really are. And there is a big distinction between the mind and the brain, and I'm going to talk about that today and put you back in the driver's seat of your life.
Yeah. Wonderful. And there were so many things. I was taking a breakfast today because we're all staying together nearby here, so a few of us had breakfast. And yesterday, I pulled a rune. Does everybody know what the runes are? The runes are little stones with a glyph on them, and they bring a message to help you focus. They're not fortune-telling, nothing like that. They are helping you access your inner soul. And mine said, I was having a spiritual warrior to help me, but I would need patience. And boy, last night, unfortunately, Josie and a couple of others, Pete Smith will be talking later, they were all with me when my car broke down. So we all had to be very, very patient. So I thought, now this is how playing itself out, our patience. So how does patience work in your area of development?
I think generally in life, people are losing patience. We want immediate reward. We want to see, gratification for our efforts, and that can be a real trap. And we need to find that space between the breath where we find our stillness, where we really connect in with the authenticity and the power of who you really are. And when you touch that space, there is so much possibility available to you, but we're usually so distracted, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that today.
All right, good. Now, just a little bit about yourself, because you have had a very varied career. You've done so many different things. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I worked in corporate for about 15 years, and then I saw the light. I had cancer, and that really was the first pivot in my life of becoming a real conscious creator and asking some big questions and saying, why am I doing what I'm doing? I'm not feeling satisfied. There's something more to this. What is it? Something's missing. And I realised what was missing was me. And that really put me on path to what I'm really meant to be doing, and I'm going to talk a bit about that today as well.
Yeah, in your notes it says you are an NDE survivor.
Yes.
Near-death experience survivor. Now, I've never looked on near-death experience and survival because everybody who has an NDE always comes out totally changed.
Totally. I've had 3.
You've had 3?
I've had 3, and I'll be talking about my 3 near-death experiences tomorrow. Yeah.
Tomorrow, okay, so that's good. All right, now you've written some books, and your book and one of my books are out there on table B1 if you want to have a look at them as well. So tell me about the books you've written.
So there's a number of books. The first one that's on sale here is actually my first book, which is a book of inspirations, and it touches on the big themes that seem small, but when you really pay attention to them, like, resilience, mindset, change, personal responsibility, authority, that when you actually open the book, to whatever page you open to is what you need for the day. It's one of those books. It really gives you the guidance that you need to get through the day. And then I wrote a neuroscience book called The Wise Advocate, the inner voice of strategic leadership. It's all about tuning into the voice of the Holy Spirit, but we couldn't use that language, so we called it The Wise Advocate. And then I've got 2 other books that are coming out in the next few weeks.
Fantastic. I like the sound of that book where you can open it up and find out a message for the day. So that's fantastic.
Thanks.
So I'll have to come and have a look at that very shortly. I think we all need some inspiration every now and then, don't we? That's why I pull a rune every now and then, because it helps me think about myself. And we talked about that last night, didn't we? How people need to listen to themselves and trust and explore what's inside themselves.
That's it.
And that is what Josie will be talking about. And She's taking you on a wonderful road trip right now. I'm not going to say journey. That's a word that's overused everywhere, isn't it? So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Hands on the
Are you
steering
ready?
wheel. Okay, off we go on the road trip. Everybody, Josie Thomson.
Thank you. Thanks,
Come
Graham.
on, you can do better
you.
than that. Come on. All right, thank
Thanks,
you very
Graham.
much.
Thanks.
Thanks, sir.
Good morning, everybody. I'm so excited to be here to talk about a topic. Can we get the slides up, please? Or do I need to do that? Oh, there we are. To talk about a topic that I'm really passionate about, and that is sovereignty. The other thing that I'm talking about is neuroscience and what that's got to do with sovereignty, and I'm going to link that together, hopefully, for you. There's a little bit about me. You'll hear a lot about me, probably in this session. I've got a session tomorrow on my NDE experiences, and I'm also going to be doing a really special half-hour healing experience tomorrow as well, so check out the program for that. Okay, so here's the deal. What I want this to be is a really safe space for you to try on some different ideas, all right? The second thing I'm going to ask you to do is to actually grab your mobile phones and turn them off. Only for half an hour, okay? Some of you will have separation anxiety because you'll forget even how to do this. And the reason I'm going to ask you to do this is because oftentimes what we do is we put it on silent, and a portion of our attention is actually divided waiting for these things to go off. And you think, well, so what? What difference does that make? It has a massive impact on your brain and on your memory. There's this thing called digital amnesia. It's actually a real thing. Because we're dependent on these devices 24/7 just about, we're not thinking for ourselves. And when we give our brains a little bit of reprieve, it's extraordinary how it feels, and I want you to actually feel it. So just for half an hour, I'm going to ask you if you would turn your phones off. Okay, and I'm going to show you physically what it does to brain. There's 3 stages of memory. The first stage is getting information into your brain, and you're going to be hearing some really phenomenal stuff here over the next couple of days, and you want to retain it, right? The second stage of memory is actually keeping the information in. The third stage is being able to recall it. So here's a question to you: which is the most important stage? Hands up if you think it's getting it into your brain. No one. One person. Okay. Who thinks it's keeping it in the brain? Hands up. No one. Okay. Who? Hands up if you think it's being able to recall it. The majority of the room. But here's the thing. If you don't get it in properly to start with, what have you got to recall? And that's what these devices are doing. All right? Because your attention is diverted and split, it's not getting in properly to start with, and that's why you can't remember things. So I want to give you an experience of what it's like just to switch off and entirely be present without your mobile device on at all. And then halfway through my presentation, I'm going to ask you to put it back on, and I'm going to ask you to see what you felt like. Okay, so give it a go. The third thing I say is some of the things I'm going to talk about is neuroscience speak, is just keep your mind open, just like a parachute. It's most useful when your mind's open, yeah? And the last thing is when I'm teaching about the brain is that it often works a bit like a search engine. So whether you use Google, Safari, Chrome, whatever, when you type in a search, what do you get back? What you're looking for, yeah? Your brain is exactly the same. So if you're sitting there thinking, oh my God, an hour of this, I'm not going to get anything out of it, guess what? You won't. But if you're sitting there thinking, what if I get one idea that could potentially be a game changer for me? Guess what? You will. Okay, so just watch how you're priming yourself for the experience today and for your life and every morning. Do you wake up going, oh, here I go again, and notice what happens? Or do you wake up saying, hey, I'm going to have a great day, and guess what? Your brain starts to attune to that. So watch what you do for yourself to create your experience. So what I want to do is just very quickly, I want you to find a partner, stand up. Come on. Only going to take a minute. So really quickly, find a partner, get into pairs. If you've got 3, work in 3, that's fine. Okay, ready? Find a partner. Now, listen very carefully. Without getting creepy, I want you to look your partner up and down. Have a really good look. Go. That's enough. Okay, so now what I want you to do is I want you to turn back to back. And without speaking, I want you to change 3 things about your physical appearance. Go. Change 3 things about your physical appearance. 3 things about your physical appearance. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Turn around, see if you can guess the changes. Play with it. Okay, now what I'd like you to do, again, turn around back to back, no speaking. Keep those changes made, all right? So turn back to back. This is the last time I'm going to invite you to change 3 more things. Go. 3 more things, keep your clothes on. 3 more things. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Turn around, see if you can guess. Okay. Okay, so thank your partners and take a seat. So notice what you're doing as you're sitting down now. What are you doing? Putting everything back to where it was, yeah? Did I ask you to do that? Did you need an instruction to do that? That is what you're up against when you're trying to change, all right? It's called homeostasis. It's actually a program that we have in our brain where we desire comfort, predictability, right? But here's the thing I want you to understand. There is no growth in your comfort zone. Okay, you're going to have to get a little bit out of comfort zone. The other thing that you noticed is that who thought it was fun the first time? It was easy the first time, yeah? Who thought it was more fun and easier the second time under pressure? Yeah, see, so our response to change is quite unique to you, right? And so you can never predict. Some people actually are more innovative and creative under pressure. Other people don't like to have that much pressure on them when they're seeking to change. But the thing I want you to see when you're trying to make a change in your life, that there is an automatic pushback. The brain likes to be in comfort and predictability. Okay. So before we get into content, I want you to just discuss with the person beside you a couple of things about this topic. I want you to just check in before I tell you what I think it is. What do you think about when you think about the topic of sovereignty? What is one aspect of your own sovereignty that you would like to seek a change in? And why is that change important to you? 1 minute each, go. If you're not sitting next to someone, find someone to talk to. There's someone behind, you can have a chat. Great. You can speak in threes. What does sovereignty mean to you? What's one thing you want to change? And why do you want to change it? Okay, 1 more minute. Okay. So out of all those questions, there's one question in particular that's most important that a lot of people don't think about. Which one do you think it is? Call it out. The last question, right? Oftentimes what we do is we set ourselves intentions or even New Year's resolutions. Yeah, we get all excited and motivated. And how long does that last, right? That last question is the most critical when you're seeking to make a change in your life. And the reason is, if your reason for the change isn't bigger than you, it's not going to happen. You need to keep asking that question, why, until you hit something that is so raw, so deep, that moves you. So on those days when you've got nothing left in the tank, when you are totally exhausted and depleted, that's the thing that's going to inspire you to get up and rise. And God help anyone that tries to get in your way, right? When you hit your why, you hit your stride. And that's when you get on purpose. And that's where your sovereignty lives. Today I'm going to hopefully get you in touch with that. How does that sound? Okay, let's do this. Okay, so what is personal sovereignty? I broke it down into 3 main areas. The first one is taking full responsibility for your choices, your life, right? And so some of the things I'm going to show you today might be a little bit out there, but hey, you're here. You're here at the Awaken conference. I'm assuming that you're open to these ideas. So just loosen the grip on your brain, because your brain's going to sit there and go, what the? It doesn't make sense. And just be okay with that. Just go for the ride. Just be curious, okay? So the first aspect of sovereignty is deciding to take full responsibility for your life, your choices. What does that mean? It means that you're responsible for your happiness and your unhappiness. There's only you, right? There's only you in here. There's many voices, but there's only you in there, right? When you get that, you realize you have choice. The second thing is that you are the inner authority for your life. What that means is stop looking outside of you for the answers. Get information. But at the end of the day, what I'm going to ask you to do is start attuning to the wisdom of this incredible vehicle that we have called the body that talks to us in energy. And I'm going to show you that today, right? So that you become your inner authority. You trust that inner instinct that you have. Something, I get a hunch that I should be doing this. I get a sense I shouldn't go there. You know what? Trust that. Because if it was all good, you wouldn't be having those witchy feelings. All right? They come in there for a reason. If it doesn't feel right, guess what? It's because it's not right. That's it. Don't argue with it. But what we generally do is because the brain seeks to understand everything, and because it doesn't make sense, we discount it. And guess what? We live to regret that. Can you relate to that? Okay. The third point is that this is where we actually reach our ultimate sense of conscious freedom. When we decide to take full responsibility, when we realise that we actually trust ourselves, we don't need to trust the world or anybody else in the world, that's when we realise that we can live from a space of fearlessness and authenticity. So what's the brain got to do with sovereignty? Well, actually a lot, because the brain is where we make all of our decisions in our prefrontal cortex. There's 2 aspects of the brain. I was meant to have a whiteboard here today to really make it more visual for you, so I'm just going to have to wing it. Hopefully it'll still work out. Okay, so we make all of our decisions in the front part of the brain. However, if we are in a heightened state of fear or anxiety or another emotion that actually is gripping us, our capacity to think straight is significantly compromised. Okay, so we'll talk about that in a minute. So your ability to choose between reactive thoughts and proactive thoughts are in there. So we've got an aspect of the brain that is forward thinking and strategic, but then we have a really big part of the brain called the limbic system that is more reactive. So you'll walk into a space and go, oh my God, so-and-so's here, I want to run. I really want to tell that person to F off. Now, the front part of the brain will say, you might want to think about that. The back part of the backseat driver, the fearful one, says, just tell him. The front one says, it's going to have long-term consequence. The back seat goes, I don't care, get him out of my face. So you can see the battle that's going on in your mind. And guess what? You're in there, and in between your breath, you are able to see all of that carry on and then make a conscious decision. If you're not aware and awake, you're going to go with the reactive thoughts that has you repeat patterns of behaviour that are not necessarily wise or good for you. Does that make sense? Okay. So yes, that's also where your emotional control is today. I'm going to show you how to do that. This is also where you get to self-regulate when those big emotions hit you. So this is where I was going to do the interactive part. So what I'm going to show you is this. There are 2 gears in the brain. There's forward-facing and the rearview mirror. The forward-facing brain has you focusing on what you want, and that's where your reward center is. When you get what you want, you feel good, yeah? And so you get this hit of dopamine in the brain. When you get dopamine in the brain, it actually helps you think, you're more creative, you're more innovative, you make wise decisions, and you're able to self-regulate. However, the biggest part in the brain is actually the emotional brain. That part of the brain is actually looking in the rearview mirror and saying, is it safe, is it safe, is it safe? It's always looking out for threats. It wants you to be safe. But this is the part of the brain, even though it's stronger, it's the one that actually will hijack your capacity to move forward if you don't feel safe. Does that make sense? If for some reason something doesn't feel right for you, it's very difficult to make forward steps in your life because this error message is going off in your brain going, but it's not safe, it's not safe, it's not safe. So here's the thing. I don't want to see that person today, but I want to have a good time. I don't want to see that person, but I want to have a good time. I don't want to see that person, but I want to have a good time. I don't want to see that person, don't want to see that person, don't want to see that person. While I'm focusing on what I don't want, what am I not focusing on? What I do want. I will never have what I do want by focusing on what I don't want. So when I say I don't want to fail, I don't want to fail, I don't want to fail, guess what? I'm not focusing on what I want. Right? And if that's the only thing you take away from today, I'm happy because seriously, that was a life changer for me. In 1991, when I was diagnosed with cancer, I was 24 years old and I was given 6 months to live. And I remember when the doctor came into the room, he said to me, Josie, you're going to be fine. It's only, a small tumour in the thyroid, didn't bother with the biopsy. I was super fit, never drank, never smoked. So we never anticipated it was going to be stage 3 malignant cancer. He came into the room, you could see he'd been crying because he was my family doctor forever. And he didn't know how to tell me this. And then he said, I don't know how to tell you this, but it is cancer, it is stage 3 and it is malignant. And I sat there with this knowing that I knew that was going to happen. And I was 22 at the time, and my husband at the time was sitting there and fell apart. And he looked at me and he said, do you understand what I said? And I nodded. He said, so that means we need to do a second surgery as soon as possible because we've disturbed it. They only took half hour and it did spread to my sternum and my lungs, right? And he said, when can we do this? And without even thinking, this voice came out of my body saying, if you don't do this by first thing tomorrow morning, I'm never going to let you touch me again. Now, I knew I didn't need time to think about it because if I did, I would have got into fear, right? So something quite assertive rose in me that said, act fast. And I did. That night when my husband left, he stared at me from the door and I knew I would never see him again. He left. Now, some people fly because they get scared. Other people rise in the face of fear and they touch this willfulness within themselves that they never knew they had. And sometimes we never know what we're capable of until we're tested. And for me, that was my first real big test. That's when I also had my first 2 near-death experiences, and I'll be talking about them tomorrow. But the thing that I got to, and this is what I'm going to talk about with the brain, is that, yes, there was fears of thought. I didn't want to die. But there was this other voice that rose in me that said, I want to live. And that voice was stronger than the fear of death. And I started attuning to that voice. And you know what? That voice knew exactly what I needed to do. Because I chose to focus on what I wanted, I want to live, I want to live, I want to live. Sure, there were whispers of I don't want to die, but I didn't attune to them. I acknowledged them, but what I didn't do, I didn't fight them, deny them or push them away. Why? Because if you do that, you feed them. All you want to do is say, yeah, I hear you, but I'm choosing this. And my focus every day was, I want to live, I want to live, I want to live. This is where I'm focusing. When you focus on what you want, you're always focusing forward on where you want to go. Yeah? When you focus on what you don't want, you're always looking back. I don't want that. And when you do that, you're taking your eyes off what you want. Right? And when I focused on what I wanted, I knew what to think, I knew what to say, I knew what to eat, I knew what to do, I knew how to attune my days according to my focus. And this is what you do when you connect in with your sovereignty and that inner voice that knows what's right for you. I get pretty passionate. Is that okay? I want this for you. Now, I love this quote by Nikola Tesla when he said, if you really want to understand the universe, you really have to think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. What's that got to do with it? Well, actually a lot, because that is the language of the body. And I'm going to say a little bit more about that in a moment. Where you focus your attention is where your power lies. You either empower yourself by focusing forward on what you want, or you disempower yourself by letting the backseat driver of your brain, the pattern, the habit centre, take you and drive you. Quite unsafe to be driving from the back seat of the car. And understand this, where focus goes, energy flows. What are you energising in your life? That is actually what the inside of your brain looks like when you have an insight. When you have an aha moment, when you learn something new and you go, wow, I didn't realise that before, you are actually rewiring your brain for change. This is what's called neuroplasticity. This is what you can do for yourselves. I can't do the work for you. I can invite you into a space to check out some different ideas for you to have these moments of insight. Once you have an insight, you can't undo it. This is where your power lies. And you can rewire your brain up until the day you die, and that has been proven. There's much more I want to say about that, but I'll talk about that tomorrow. I want you to be the boss of you. Yeah, I love it when kids go, you're not the boss of me. You know what? That's true. We're the guardians of these beautiful souls. But I want you to get to a point where, you know what? You are the boss of you. And the thing that you're going to need to learn to tame is your mind, actually the brain. So, how do we lose our sovereignty? Look at that first one. Technology. We are constantly distracted by technology, constantly entertained and full of technology. You've heard the word mindful. There's mindful and there's mindful. We are so full of information that we are so distracted and we are prevented from touching that inner stillness and that inner voice that holds our power. And this is what we need to reclaim. Switch off your phones. Notice what that feels like when you have permission to sit in the stillness and the silence of your power, because that is where your voice will rise. The second point is also following other people's voices. Yeah, go and get information, but ultimately do not usurp that authority and the decisions for your life to anybody else. Get information, but make the decisions yourself. I'm going to show you how to make the right decisions, all right? And then the thing to watch out for is the big emotions. Never, ever make important decisions when you're in a heightened state, high or low, not wise. Okay, energy field. Can I have one volunteer, please, to come and do something with me on the stage? I won't hurt you, promise. Come here. Come down, yeah. Yep. Anyone? Okay. So I want everybody to take note of this demonstration. It's really, really important. Okay, come on up. Yep, over here. Great. So I want you to imagine that you are, what was your name? Rachel. You're Rachel. Okay. So I'll get you to stand a little bit further back. That's it. Okay. So between me and Rachel, and it's the same with everybody, all of you, right? Wherever you are in the room. Between you and me is an invisible line. Yeah? Now that invisible line is always at the midway point. Got that? So if you're sitting in the front seat, it's somewhere here. If you're sitting in the back, it's somewhere over there. It's always in the middle. Yeah? Now that line goes all around you, and that line goes all around me like a bubble. So as far as your arms go, put your arms out in every direction. That's your energy field. Yeah? I want you to watch something now. The middle line is always in the middle there. I want you to tell me what happens to that line as I start to walk towards you. What's happening to that line? It's getting closer and you're feeling more pressure. Can you see that? Yeah. So now the impact of my presence on Rachel is starting to be felt more, because guess what? Put your arm out. I'm in her energy field. Yeah. So my bubble is interacting with her bubble. So sometimes you walk into a room and you go, oh, that person feels nice, I'm going to go talk to that person. Because somehow my energy field is tapping into that, saying that feels nice. I want you to just play with me here. Okay, it's invisible, but it's a felt sense. And all of you can do this, right? So basically what it means, Rachel, so we're now in an interaction. Everything from the line to you is your business, yeah? Everything from that line to me is my business, yeah? So everything from that line to me is none of your business. Did you get that? So I can be standing here, pointing the finger, calling you names. Who does that behaviour belong to? Even though I'm directing it to Rachel, that behaviour belongs to me. So why should Rachel get rattled by something I do and say here? Right? I want you to get this. Because you're in your mind. The only time anything I say or do is actually going to affect you, Rachel, you know that invisible line? It's got a gate. And if that gate is open, you're basically saying, come on in and have authority over my life. Got that? Got that? So if there's someone that's really getting into your field, guess what? You're permitting it. Shut that gate. No one has permission to come in and have authority over your life. This is your bubble, your life, your energy field. Got it? Do you feel that? Okay, can we thank Rachel? Thank you, Rachel. How do you shut the gate? Just like you saw that, it's all in your imagination. Your imagination is actually a very, very powerful tool. There's imaginal cells in the brain. So one of the things I didn't say out loud is I've got a master's in neuroscience. I was working as an accountant in the bank, and then I became a coach, an executive coach for 30 years. And something in that time in 2008 said, you need to go and study neuroscience. And I'm like, what? And I went, okay, I'm going to go and study neuroscience. So I studied neuroscience. And then in 2010, I was diagnosed with a brain tumour. And all of a sudden, it was my brain on the screen. And now it made sense why I needed to study neuroscience, because after that surgery, I've got a scar that goes from the front of my head all the way around the back. Yeah? They lifted it up and took out some yucky stuff. Anyway, after that surgery, I could not walk or talk properly for 6 months. And the neurosurgeon actually sat there and said, Josie, I'm so sorry, but you probably will not walk or talk properly again. Now, I'm really lucky that I couldn't talk, because if the voice came out of me, it would not have been pleasant. And the other thing that he underestimated is that I'm female, Taurian, and Italian. And if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to show you how I do it. So I actually used what I learned, that picture that I showed you of neuroplasticity. I sat every day in tears most of the time, because I wanted to be able to move my body and do certain things or say certain things, and my body was letting me down. But I learned to meditate. My body forced me into a space where I could. But secondly, I remembered that there were these cells in the brain called imaginal cells. And the way they work is if you can really in detail imagine something, the same neural network fires up in the brain as if you're actually doing it. Like, this is major. We're not taught this. So my mission is to teach people how powerful we are. So every day I rehearsed over and over, every single muscle moving, my capacity to talk without stuttering again. You know, until 6 months later, I was able to walk into his office and he just sat there and went, what have you done? And all I said to him was, please, never tell a patient that they will never be able to do something. Because what you're doing is something called priming. And that's what I said at the beginning. How are you priming yourself for your day? How are you priming yourself for this session? What are you going to get out of it? Guess what? It depends on you and how you're focusing your attention. Your intention and your attention are your biggest tools. And then your imagination is the gateway. And you're going to hear a lot of amazing presenters over this weekend talking about that space. And you've got to come a couple of sessions from now with Peter Smith. He's going to be talking all about that. Don't miss that session. So your energy field, your bubble, your life, your responsibility, claim it. Own it. Be the boss of you. So how do you do it? First of all, notice when you're on autopilot. Notice when those patterns of behaviours just kick in, because they kick in under the layers of your awareness. So you must be awake. All right? Secondly, you need to feel and recognise what emotions are driving you. And keep asking yourself, why am I doing this? And if it feels right, great. If it doesn't, stop. You don't have to make sense of it. I'm going to tell you something else here. The second thing is you need to pause often. Get into your breath. The first thing that changes when you're happy, sad, frightened, whatever, is your breath. Notice what your breath is doing. It's a clue to whether something is right or wrong for you. Think about your options before you make a decision and decide based on what's best for you. This next bit about follow the uplift of energy. There's two energies. There's expansion and there's contraction. If something feels right, which one are you going to feel? Expansion every time. If you feel contraction, pay attention, because something's not right. And what did I say before about that? If something doesn't feel right, it's because it's not right. Trust that. Don't trust the brain will send you everywhere. The feelings can also distract you a little bit. Go with the energy every time. And the last thing is really important. Just be open and curious. You don't have to understand it. The language of the brain is not something to understand with the brain. The language of the body is all about energy. Tune in. There are some really basic, relatively easy practices that you can do to start getting yourself into centre. The first one is mindful awareness, which really does strengthen your capacity to pay attention and understand where you are with your awareness. The second thing is breath regulation. So if you're needing to calm yourself down, you breathe in naturally and extend your exhalation. So make your exhalation longer than your inhalation. If you're in anxiety, the quickest way to get out of anxiety, grab one hand and put it anywhere on your chest. Try it now. Notice what happens to that very first inhalation when you do that, right? The second you put it on your chest, something in your body goes, right? You don't even need an instruction for that. The body knows what to do. It's like plugging in, and the vagus nerve settles right down, okay? So if you ever get into anxiety, one hand on your chest anywhere and just focus. Close your eyes, tune out from everything out there and extend your exhalation. The third one is get intentional. Really think about what it is that you want, because this is what starts to program your brain forward. And the last thing, guess what? The attitude of gratitude. Gratitude expands happiness in your life. And the research shows us the more grateful you are, the happier you are. It's not the other way around. So get grateful. Count your blessings, not your problems. The other thing about sovereignty is that when you start to reclaim it yourself, it has a ripple effect into the field and into the larger consciousness around you. It actually helps to build better friendships because your energy field is changing. You start to attract the same energy towards you. Like attracts like, right? If you keep attracting the wrong sort of people, do the inner work and then you'll start attracting different energetic experiences towards you. The second thing is always focus on learning. There's two types of mindsets, fixed or growth. When you're in a fixed mindset, it means I either can or I can't. There's no grey, there's no in between. There's also no possibility, right? Whereas if you say, you know what, I'm a work in progress, just like everybody else, and I'm here to learn and grow. That means I never actually get there because I'm continually learning and growing. And that's really important, to give yourself permission to be in that learning space, because we're always learning and growing. We never stop. And the last thing is, when you start to believe in yourself, you can handle anything that life dishes out. Sometimes things come from left field, and that's the nature of life. And notice that game there that we played at the beginning, change. I didn't tell you why we were doing it. Some of you felt really uncomfortable. Some of you felt it was fun. But this is the nature of life. A lot of things happen without you realizing or being ready for it. How are you going to adapt? Just keep an open mind and remember what resources you have within you that, guess what, no one takes away from you until you abandon yourself. So how does embodied sovereignty look like? Well, first of all, it's having that mental clarity. So at any point in time, sitting down and actually asking yourself, what is it that I want? The first answer you get usually will be what you don't want. And you know what? When that happens, it's okay, because that's what the brain is designed to do. It's really clear about what you don't want. You have to work on getting into that front seat and focusing on what you do want. All right? So when the brain says, well, I don't want that, you go, okay, thank you, brain, for reminding me for the 100th time today what I don't want. What is it that I do want? That's all you do. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Refocus, refocus, refocus. The second thing is responding rather than reacting. Right? And usually it's those big charged emotions that will have you react. Not wise. Put your hand on your chest, go and take a time out, do some breathing, heavy breathing if you want, right? Calm your farm and then make a decision based on what you want, not on fear, your power. Then thirdly, it keeps you grounded and in the body. The body is far more powerful and wise than we have been led to believe. And I will be talking about that tomorrow when I talk about my near-death experiences. And the fourth thing is it's also our spiritual connection. The more embodied you are in your sovereignty, the more alignment you have with your deeper sense of purpose, the why you are here for this lifetime. So when we do that, what are the benefits to you? First of all, your self-awareness, the fact that you can recognize these patterns and conditioning and realize that, hey, that's not me, that's just a pattern. And guess what? I can repattern my brain by focusing my attention on what I want and repeat, repeat, repeat. How many repetitions to change a habit? Does anyone know? It's 21. 21 repetitions gets the map in the brain. 3 times 21 hardwires it. So it needs focus, but it needs effort, persistence, and perseverance. And guess what? You can do that. If you want something, you will make it happen. It's up to you. Secondly, exercise your power to decide. Now, one thing that I was told when I had one of my near-death experiences was I had to make a choice. But more than that, I had to decide. And I said, what's the difference? And the difference is this. We have many choices in life, but until we decide, it's all negotiable. Once you decide, it's like drawing a line in the sand and you step over it. It's like, I'm there. No one's going to wave at me once I've decided. It's a full stop, right? You can own that space. And finally, for you, what it means is transformation. Is it possible? Yes. If you want it. There's 3 questions I always ask people when they're wanting to change or transform. Are you open to it? Are you willing to have a transformation? And are you ready? And if you can say yes to those, you can do it. You can if you want to. Right? And that's got to come from you. You're the one that's got to make that decision. No one else can do that. So being the boss of your brain, there's 3 steps. Number 1 is notice, be aware of your thoughts. Number 2, choose, make your own decisions. And number 3 is practice, get stronger every day, because that's how you build your strength. That's how you build your power. And remember, your amazing brain belongs to you. With practice, you're the one that can be the captain of your ship. I have a special offer for all of you here. So now you can actually turn your phones back on. So if you would like to turn your phone back on and scan that QR code, you can download a new resource that I made just last week for this conference. And it's called the Quantum Breakthrough Experience, a guide. And it's all about how do you shift from stuck to aligned using neuroscience, energy, and the field of infinite possibility. So if you want to scan that, and if you miss this now, at the speaker's desk, just around the corner here where we've got all our books, we're going to be doing book signings there as well. There's a couple of posters with that QR code on as well. So if you miss it here, you can get it outside. Okay. So I'd like to just take a moment, if you would let me, and actually guide you through a very short meditation where I actually want you to feel what it feels like to have that strength and sovereignty in your body. Would that be okay? So what I'd like you to do is put both feet on the ground, and if it's comfortable with you, I'd like you to just shut down your eyes, and with your hands, I want you to have your hands in an upright position on your knees, okay? Your hands upright means that you're ready to receive, and I want you to just feel and receive. See if you notice anything as I'm going through this meditation with you. So just take a moment to presence yourself. Breathing in gently and soften. Soften your mind, soften your jaw, soften your shoulders. Soften your shoulders and your arms down your body, softening your feet all the way down to your toes, and breathe. Visualize now a soft, glowing flame at the center of your chest. This is your inner transmuter, your sacred fire of love and truth. Breathe. Feel the flame. Feel the heat. Feel the fire. Bring to mind now a heavy or stuck energy, something you've carried for a while, and offer it to the flame. Breathe. Watch it transform, not in shame, but in liberation. Smile. Feel this inner transmutation occur. See the flame dancing as the energy shifts into compassion, insight, freedom. That's it. Breathe. Now, whisper gently to yourself, I allow this energy to change. I bless it. I become the light. Breathe. Feel the warmth of this glowing light spread through your whole being. Every cell, every organ, a light. You are safe. You are sovereign. You are a transformer of energy, an alchemist, turning pain into purpose, turning fear into freedom. You are the creator of your reality. Breathe. And when you're ready, just wiggle your toes and your fingers and breathe, open your eyes. Welcome back. Now that's a little visualization that you can do anytime, anywhere, whenever there's something heavy that's going on. Just center yourself. If you need to, put one hand there and just imagine that flame coming up just on your command. Visualize that flame, and whatever it is that's heavy and weighing you down, just bring it into the heart, transmute it, and allow yourself to restore your sense of peace, freedom, and power. Thank you. Not finished, nearly finished. A couple of things I just want to leave you with. That stillness isn't about the absence of thought. It's actually the indwelling presence of God or source, creator, whatever you call it. And that presence is what heals us. This isn't just relaxation that we're talking about today. It's sacred entrainment. And it's not theory, it's actually measurable. And I'm living proof of that. So when people want to say, you want to see a miracle? I'll show you miracles. I'm working with them every single day. And you are one. So just before we finish, I have a few more things I'll say. I just want you to turn to the person beside you and just share what has been your biggest insight today and what's one thing that you'll commit to doing differently. Go. And then I'll give you some final words. Just 1 minute. Okay. Okay, so the last thing I want to share with you is this, is that you are not a prisoner of your energy, you are its master. You are the flame that transforms, the breath that renews, the alchemist of your own soul. May you walk with the power to change energy wherever you go into beauty, love and truth. Shine on. Yeah. And we've got time for some questions. So does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask about anything that we covered today? Okay, I think I did a good job. All right, I'll leave you with that. Thanks, everyone. Oh, there's a question? Yeah. Is one of my new books on the neuroscience of sovereignty. So the book that I've got out there is it's a little bag of jewels, right? The next book that was meant to be here today, it's been published by Penguin, has got all of this. It's called Enliven Your Life. The one outside is Enliven You, which is for daily practice. The next one's got all of my coaching tools and strategies in there, and the bubbles in there as well. And then I've got the biography that's coming as well. Yeah, so you're welcome. Anybody else? No? Okay, great. Your class dismissed. So I've just done my first presentation on the neuroscience of sovereignty, and then I've got another workshop tomorrow where I'm talking about my 3 near-death experiences as well as a healing circle.